neck pain, a really big topic, because it's so specific from person to person. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. So I think we've all experienced those times where, you know, you wake up and you turn a little bit too quickly and then your whole like fucking neck just like tells you to just F off, and it's stiff for the rest of the day. And it's one of those like, I'm gonna turn this way, I can go all the way, but then when I turn this way, it's like, I'm stuck type of thing. There's a lot of stuff that can be going on. But let's say it's more of a musculoskeletal issue, and a lot of times it's stress related and posture related. If you are like me and everybody else in the world right now, at least in North America, we are all working in front of a laptop a lot more than pre-COVID, because a lot of times people have now been working from home. Usually when people are in prolonged positions, things get tight, and I'm using air quotes, that will kind of seize up movement. And we all know that our joints are designed to move. So what happens when we don't move our joints anymore? Bad things tend to happen. Things get stiff, things get grindy, they get kind of stuck, kind of like old gum, and they can't really move. So the neck kind of falls into that line. And when you think about it, like our neck does a lot of movement. It can go into flexion, it can go to extension, it can go to left rotation, right rotation, lateral flexion, both sides. When we limit that, we find out how important our neck is when it comes to daily movements that we can do from an exercise perspective. Number one is just move it. And the number one thing that I always do is something called neck cars. The number one best way to combat neck pain is to move it. And the biggest thing that I always tell people when they do cars is never go through pain. So our nervous system has a really good ability to remember pain and will prevent the motion further so you don't hurt yourself. So, you know, my neck hurts going this way, you get those pain signals right away to stop you from going any further, because it'll make it worse. So your nervous system will remember that. So then next time you go, it'll take that ability away from you. And many of you will have this experience before, is when you do wake up that morning and you're like, oh yeah, my neck is super stiff. And then, you know, you're driving and you try to like shoulder check to the direction where your neck doesn't move, you get that sharp pain, and you realize like as the day progresses it gets worse and worse, and you're like, now I can't move my neck at all. A lot of times from an exercise standpoint, you can easily start doing neck cars, or just moving your neck through ranges of motion. To quickly demonstrate, a neck car is simply going straight down to the left or right, around up towards the ceiling, over to the other side, around and back, and then you would come back the same way you came, all the way around and back. Every time I show cars, people just assume that that's how their neck or joint or whatever joint I'm showing them is supposed to move. But you'll notice that the biggest thing that I also do from like an assessment standpoint is when I'm working with a patient or a client dealing with neck or any kind of neck issues or anything within this area, a lot of times I'm looking at compensation patterns. So almost everyone, so if you look at my shoulders, they should stay square. I'm just moving this section. So if I went down, most of the time when people start looking to the left or right, the shoulder kind of comes up, right? So that's a compensation pattern. So now I'm thinking, okay, so now this might be like trap related, might be like upper T-spine that's causing that limitation. And it's like, as people go up towards the ceiling and over to the other side, boom, this happens again. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's not actually the neck that's the issue. It might be like the stuff right below the neck. So if you think of like your cervical spine and that junction like right in here that goes into your T-spine might not be moving effectively. And that could be one of the reasons why you're presented with neck pain. So the next kind of thing is to look at T-spine extension and the movement. And sometimes like I'll get people doing the slow cat cow. So if you haven't seen this, essentially what it is like if you think about the cat cow exercise where you go with your spine through flexion and extension, I do a small assessment. It's actually in my ebook, the Ironclad Body Training System. I'm looking at if every single segment of the spine can move interdependently. And a lot of times People are really good at moving their lumbar spine, but the rest of the spine is just garbage. But usually up through here is really limited. It kind of just like comes into one block. Like people don't really know how to move through like T1, T2, T3, which is usually that area that's cervical T-spine junction where a lot of stuff gets really tight and jammed up, and then people can't move through it. This comes to like treatment modalities, but I'm gonna go from like stuff you can do to a medical professional, but like a practitioner can do. So if I know that, okay, I'm doing neck cars to help movement, neck cars would be one. Number two is chin tucks. So a lot of times the best way, because a lot of times everyone's here like all day, so being able to learn how to get back here is going to be huge for a lot of people. Because if you think about me going into a kind of a chin tuck, one, I'm centrating my CT junction into a more stacked position. So if you think of someone doing a really heavy deadlift, they're not here with their neck. They're trying to find neutral with their entire spine to be one strong solid piece. So a lot of times if I'm coaching the chin tuck, the easiest thing to do is to think about if you were driving your car and you're trying to get the back of your head into the headrest, right? So this position, like, think about it. We all know that if you're doing so much like pressing work, you're gonna end up with shoulders rounding forward. I'm always pushing my head forward because I'm on my laptop, my phone, whatever it is. Then naturally this stuff in here will probably get tight and kind of keep everything hunched forward. So if I can find exercises where I'm constantly like readjusting into those tucks, then 100% is gonna start moving and feeling better. Another like way to think about creating neck stability or neck strength are exercises that require it. So deadlifts is a great one. So people won't really think about that as like, how can I like strengthen my neck without like neck specific exercises? But deadlifts, like if you really think about it, like being in that centrated position and then going through the motion is going to help a lot. Turkish get up, huge for like neck postural positions, keeping that neck stable. Because if you think about lying on your back and coming across the body, like all of this stuff needs to turn on and kind of stay in the position. Because if you do a Turkish get up with a forward head posture, it's not going to feel good. Not going to feel good. So your body's naturally going to go into that more neutral position. And so imagine if I had a program for someone with neck pain and it's like I gave them deadlifts and a Turkish get up, like that's going to fix a lot of things. Going back to people that can't move through here, spinal extensions on the foam roller will really help. Scapular cars. So if I was on my hands and knees in kind of like a quadruped position and I was doing scapular push-ups and really focusing on getting those moving and also learning how to do the circles as well is going to help a lot. Now kind of going into more soft tissue musculoskeletal treatment stuff. So you can only do so much with exercise, right? Lacrosse ball all along here. I would even get the ball into the occipital region. So all these muscles that kind of go to the back of the skull against a wall. And sometimes it might just be like you pushing your head, doing a chin tuck again against the ball just to get those like tight points through here. Be super helpful. Now from like a treatment modality, there's a couple things. I use cups a lot in clinic and also for myself. Cupping, I'm not gonna get into like the science and the research on cupping because it's a whole fucking shitstorm and I've had online debates on this, but at the end of the day, if the goal is to move and feel better, and I put a paper towel on your elbow and miraculously you're like, my elbow feels better, why would I want to take away that, you know, input that's making your elbow feel better if it's not supported by research? If you look at the nature of cupping, it lifts that fascial shit underneath your skin, and we all know if fascia gets tight and you don't have movement, it kind of gets harder and harder and harder. So now if we lift and add some room between the fascial layers underneath your skin you'll have a little bit more movement, you're gonna have blood flow to the area. So a lot of times just cupping like through the traps, going into the neck about here, and then adding movement on top of it is money when it comes to getting a little bit more movement through the neck and kind of subsiding pain. The other thing too is like massage, duh. Any like manual practitioners putting their hands on your traps and neck are gonna help a lot, but a lot of times it's just like, if you think about our lives right now, there's a lot of stress and tension, and we're here all the fucking time. So a lot of times it's like, maybe it's not really like a musculoskeletal thing, it's just your nervous system like squeezing the shit out of everything and keeping you there, and maybe all you need is like settle shit down. And a lot of times it's like, let's breathe. And that's the other thing too, like breathing can help with this stuff. A lot of us breathe through our chest, and all these accessory muscles in the neck become hyperactive, tight, whereas maybe we just learn how to breathe through our diaphragm and all this can settle down. We do a little soft tissue stuff, maybe like put a cup on each side bilaterally and do some scapular cars, some neck cars, and boom, like you got some better movement, you're feeling better. Like, who would have thought? The other thing too is like you can go see a physiotherapist, get some like IMS needling through the traps. That can help a lot. Chiropractors, they're amazing if you believe in that thing. Again, I've had endless arguments with people online, but it's funny, like one person has a bad experience and then just kibosh the whole profession. Like, you don't do that with medical doctors. Like, oh, well, I saw one medical doctor and I had a bad experience, so all medical doctors are full of shit. Like, it's finding the right person that understands what you're going through and what you need in order to feel better. So if you trust chiropractors, awesome. If you don't, go see a physiotherapist, go see a massage therapist, whatever it is, just getting some soft tissue stuff. So one of the things that again, I'm biased, I work with chiropractors, but I've worked with physiotherapists in the past. But the thing that adjustment can do is, if you have your facet joints in your vertebrae that are just like, just jammed, because think about it, like if your muscles are tight, again, air quotes, it's preventing motion, it's probably getting tight around the joint itself. So imagine if you added space between the joint, now those muscles don't have to stay tight anymore. Having a neck adjustment or a CT adjustment can do wonders for your neck. I know it's super scary to think about someone jamming your neck around, but the amount of force that a chiropractor uses is nowhere near the kind of force you would see in a UFC fight when one dude is like literally putting their entire strength to like choke the other guy out, and somehow that guy still has a neck attached to his body. Like, at least try it, right? You have nothing to lose. But those are kind of the thought process that I kind of go into when I'm dealing with neck pain. It's changing the stuff that you're doing. Like, the reason why your neck hurts is probably because of repetitive nature, movement behaviors that you picked up, and poor posture. So it's like you eliminate those pain triggers, then there's no neck pain. But the biggest thing is, like, I can literally take someone who's in incredible pain, like musculoskeletal pain, and give them the best written program for them, and all they have to do is do it. They won't, right? Like, literally giving you the secret sauce of like, if you do this thing, these 5 exercises every day, it'll only take you 5 minutes. Do it for 3 months, guaranteed your pain will go down. They won't do it. They won't do it. So it becomes this bigger question of like, what do you want? You know, like, everything that's worth in this life takes effort, but a lot of people just go down the easier route, or they kind of just wallow in, you know, woe is me, like my neck hurts, my shoulder hurts, it's just part of life. And like, this is the thing, I hate when people are like, oh, I'm just getting old. It's like, no, you're not getting old. You're just becoming inactive. And because you're 40, 50, 60, because you haven't been doing anything at those milestones for like the last 10 years, the last 20 years, the last 30 years, you getting old just means that you haven't done anything with your body in so long, and that's why you're in pain. Age doesn't matter. You know, I'm still really, really young, and you know, when I get like a tweak here and there, like clients will make fun of me and go, oh, now you're finally getting old and now you know what it feels like. And you know, I will like, I think the last thing I've injured was my elbow, and I think I brought this up, but in 2 days, gone. Because I have the tools and my knowledge to know how to fix it. I did some cupping, I did some instrument assisted soft tissue mobilization, did a bunch of elbow cars, wrist cars, shoulder cars, more than usual for it. 2 days later, fine. Now imagine if people did stuff like that, anytime something happens to their joints, muscle, tendon, whatever it is, their body's going to move really, really, really well without any pain for a long time. I'm giving you all the tools, and it just matters whether or not you're going to actually follow through. So that's my challenge. Hopefully this episode is helpful on the neck pain. If you have any more specific questions about neck pain, let me know. I'm more than happy to help. Again, hit the show notes, add me on Facebook and Instagram, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Everyone's actually been listening and have been subscribing, so thank you for listening. You guys are awesome. Just as we were talking about, have you actually been watching my stuff and implementing it and listening? But you guys do listen, so continue subscribing because I post new videos all the time. So thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys are amazing. Until next time.